And hey, you all. Welcome back to Hold Up. Let me call my sis. Yes, it's your girl, T. Jamaica Pogue, affectionately known as Deconstructing Neuro.
And it is LaMia Radiant. That's all y'all know me as.
All right. Yeah. So we got to get caught up. First things first, a little housekeeping. We did not have an episode for 2 weeks because your girl was on vacation.
Ooh, can we call it that?
I mean, it was still a vacation. It was a trip. It was a trip.
Those are different.
Yes. So the last episode we recorded was actually on the 4th of July. And it was supposed to come out July 7th, but my birthday is July 6th and was also the first day of my trip. Mm-hmm. And the trip was like a 10-day trip or whatever. So like we knew we weren't going to be recording last week, but I thought I would have the capacity to bear with to at least put out the episode that we recorded on July 4th. So that we were only missing like 1 week. And it's going to be funny in retrospect because the way we're going to do this is our up-to-date catch-up that we're about to do. Mm-hmm. But for our Watcher and Dancer and Hating and Loving this week, we're just going to give you guys the episode that you missed. And a little preview, I'm going to talk about in my Hating and Loving how much I love to travel and how much I'm looking forward to this trip that I'm about to spend y'all in on. So I think it's actually going to be hilarious in retrospect to hear that after hearing how shit went down.
Yeah, should be interesting.
All right, so... Y'all know that anybody who knows me or has been following me for a while knows that I love to travel. Like literally my YouTube page and my name on TikTok is Wanderlust and ADHD because like those are my two things. I'm autistic, I got ADHD, and I love to travel. That's like, if you know those three things, you already know a lot about me. So I did not have an opportunity to travel all of 2024 because your girl wasn't working. And actually, I had an opportunity. I actually got invited to Mexico for something last June, but because I wasn't working, I couldn't afford the plane ticket. So, not that I didn't have opportunities, I didn't have the funds. So the last time I had traveled was actually when I did like a big trip in February of 2023. That's when I had, hopped around Europe. I did, the UK, Italy, Spain, Greece, which was my favorite, and Morocco, right? So I was like, okay, I gotta do, something cute. I gotta get a few more passport stamps for my birthday. I had a credit left over from when I was supposed to do this trip to Morocco, but they had that big earthquake in Marrakesh, and that also was going to be 2023. Jesus. So I had a credit, I know, right? So I had a credit left over with the tour company. So I was like, where can I go for my birthday that I've never been? That sounds amazing. And they had this tour called the Mayan Trail going to Mexico and Guatemala. And you know that I speak Spanish. You know that I love going places where I have an opportunity to use my Spanish. Even though I had been to Europe twice and even Northern Africa for a day trip, I hadn't been to Mexico, our southern neighbor, yet.
Right.
So I was like, this is just like a no-brainer. Yeah. And then also, it was like a group tour, which for me, when I'm usually booking my travel, I travel by myself, but I book a bunch of activities that are like group activities. So I get to meet new people. And those conversations are usually easy to have because that's the kind of small talk I can actually fuck with, where you're like talking to people who have a shared interest. You're doing a common activity and you kind of like get to know each other, but you leave it alone. Like you're not hanging out with each other every day. So this time it was something different where I was still traveling technically by myself, because nobody I knew came with me. But we were going to be in a group the whole time, and I didn't know who these people were ahead of time. And I was like, this will be something different. But I was hoping that the dynamic of how I usually travel, where I like meet new people, and like we have easy times talking, would kind of like translate over. And it didn't, because it's like now we have to have sustained small talk every day, multiple times a day. And then there's also this kind of like implied pressure that you like have to like hang out and like do stuff like, oh, we're all going here. Or what if I don't want to go there? Or what if I wanted to go there but not with y'all? Like, it doesn't really give you that kind of freedom to do that. But honestly, that dynamic was the least of issues in this trip. It started off fucked up, right? So my flight, it wasn't a direct flight. I flew out of Philly. I was flying to Cancun. I had to connect through Dallas.
Okay.
My flight out of Philly was delayed an hour, which made the connection really, really tight. Once we got to Dallas. Now, I made it. I booked it across the airport. I made it to my connecting flight. And one of my bags made it to the connecting flight. The other one was sent to baggage claim. And guess which one got sent to baggage claim? The one with all my goddamn clothes in it.
So what bag did you have?
I had the one that had like my shoes, my hats.
Like accessories.
Accessories, yeah, but no fucking clothes. Mind you, I'm wearing a comfort travel sweatsuit set, because even though it was hot outside, it'd be cold on the plane and cold in the airport. And like, I wore that because it was like, I didn't have to bring a blanket, and it had a bunch of pockets. So like, I actually really like that fucking set. And the original plan was my bag with my clothes was going to be my carry-on. And as soon as I land, I was going to change into this summer dress and sandals, right? But when I get to the airport, the flight is like booked. It's like pegged. It's fully booked. So when that happens, they almost always offer to check people's carry-on for free, because they know they're not going to have overhead bin space, right? So I was like, sure, why not? Now, again, this is when I first get to the airport. This is before I knew my flight was delayed. And that it was going to be a tight connection. Because if I knew when I was checking stuff that flight was going to be delayed, I would have probably pulled out the clothes that I wanted to wear and put it in my backpack just to be on the safe side. But hindsight is 2020, so it didn't happen. Yeah. So I get to the airport. I get to Cancun after connecting in Dallas, pick up the one bag that actually came, had to go through this whole process of like filing a claim, finally get to my hotel, and I have nothing to wear, and it's hot as fuck. I'm in a comfort sweatsuit. I'm clearly already a fat bitch, and it's hot as hell, baby. I was miserable. It was so fucking hot in Mexico. But like, when you're wearing the appropriate clothes, it wasn't too uncomfortable. But like, I felt like I was suffocating in this fucking sweatsuit. So anyway, I get to my hotel. I'm on the phone with American Airlines. And I'm like, well, I'm only going to be in this one hotel for tonight. Tomorrow, we're moving all the way to Merida. So like, I started
already that agenda, like already that itinerary of being in a hotel for one night. You're going to get there.
I'm going to get there, exactly. Yeah, but this is how it started, right? So our beginning hotel was literally just that first night, and then we were moving from Playa del Carmen over to Merida, which is like a 4.5 hour drive away. It's not like around a corner. So I'm like, I need to make sure that my bag is going to be there. I get up the next morning, the bag still ain't leave Dallas yet. So I had to go. Luckily, it was a Walmart, literally a Walmart right around the corner from my hotel. So I had to go buy like a t-shirt and shorts real quick so I could have something to wear, because he was going to Chichen Itza. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. My bag will be in Merida. They're going to make sure it gets here overnight. Blah, 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 blah.
Your bathing suit, that fly bathing suit was in there.
Exactly, cute-ass bathing suit that I bought specifically for this trip. All that. So I couldn't go swimming at the first hotel because I had nothing to go swimming in. And it was a cute ass hotel with the pool right in front of my room. Like,
wow.
It was really cute. Anyway, so go see Chichen Itza. That was great. Had a great time. Amazing. It's one of the 7 modern wonders of the world. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Hot as fuck that day too. But I had a t-shirt and shorts. So it was a little bit more bearable.
Jesus Christ.
And then we get to Merida the next day. My clothes come finally
to Merida.
To Merida, yeah. Okay. They had to deliver it all the way from Cancun to Merida, but I'm like, yes, because also my medicine was in that bag too.
Oh shit!
Crazy.
Yeah,
like
that's anyway. A lot.
So, but once I got my clothes, things started to actually go downhill in different ways. It's nuts though, because okay, so I had the itinerary ahead of time. And this is gonna actually like tie into a bonus rant, because Hating and Loving this week is gonna be a separate little video we're gonna post. Is gonna be a YouTube exclusive. So if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and do that if you want to get the full version of what I'm going to kind of like hint at now. But even though I had the itinerary ahead of time, it didn't clock to me like how this trip was going to be structured and how much of that time was going to be spent in transition, which is already something I struggle with as an autistic person, with a need for like familiarity and kind of like, you know, being constantly in transition is very overstimulating for me.
Right.
So I'm gonna cut it there because I feel like I'm stepping into Hating and Loving territory.
Okay.
But let's just say overall, the trip started on a low note and it ended on a low note because I decided to cut my trip short by 2 days. I was supposed to be there until the 16th, but I decided to leave on the 14th. And luckily with my flight, the kind of flight that I booked, the fare that I booked, it had 0 change fees. So I could change my flight and it wasn't any cost to change it. But if the new flight cost more, then I had to pay the difference. Or if it cost less, which wound up happening, I get like a little credit. I got like a $78 credit or something like that. So I changed my flight to 2 days earlier, and I booked a van to get from where I was in Guatemala to get to the airport. I get to the airport in plenty of time. Flight was supposed to leave at 12:30 or 12:40 a.m. I get there, it's like not even 8 p.m. Check in, check my bags. You know, chilling, waiting to be able to da-da-da-da. Maybe a half hour before I was about to head to my gate to start boarding, I get a message. Oh, your flight has been delayed until 11:30 a.m.
That's crazy, bro.
Had to go stand in a line for 2 hours because clearly I wasn't the only person affected by this, to speak to somebody at the American Airlines desk at the airport, because they automatically booked me on a connecting flight that was going to put me in a bitch seat in the back of the plane. And by bitch seat, I'm talking about the middle seat,
right,
in the back of the plane. Again, we've already established I'm a fat bitch.
Oh my God.
I don't like sitting in the middle seat no matter what, but it was particularly egregious because I upgraded myself when I decided to move my trip back, or like move it up 2 days. I upgraded to first class. So when they rebooked me, because obviously since the original flight got pushed back to 11:30, there was no way I was catching my original connection in Dallas at 5:30 in the morning. They put me on another flight later that night, but it was going to put me in seat like 33G or some bullshit. And I looked on the seat chart and I'm like, I'm not all the way in the back, and also it was in the middle. Like, what are you doing? So it was looking like all I was going to be able to do was get to Dallas and then have to have a hotel in Dallas and fly out the next day if I insisted on staying in the class that I paid for. So I was like, fuck it, whatever. Like, just get me out of Guatemala. So they put me up in a hotel because it was going to be like hours until my flight. And the hotel they put me up in was the nicest hotel I stayed in the whole fucking time. When I got there, it made me feel like this is where I would stay if I was like booking my hotels. But again, that's going into hating.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
I'll get into that a little bit later. But anyway, get to Dallas, right? And something told me, go talk to the American Airlines help desk, because I was supposed to just go and get like a hotel voucher and like stay the night in Dallas and come back to the airport the next day. But I get to the counter and it was one of us. It was a Black woman. And I was like, sis, not exactly, but I was like, but you know how I mean. Well, I was like, sis, like, you know, this happened. I gave her the rundown. I was like, this happened when I was in Guatemala. My flight got delayed. So now I'm on a flight tomorrow morning and I just need to know about like a hotel voucher. And she asked me, she was like, you sure you want to go home tomorrow? We got a flight tonight. I was like, well, yeah, I know y'all got a flight tonight, but they told me when I was in Guatemala, all y'all had was like seat 33 something. And she was like, no, we got first class. We got a seat in first class available on an 8:40 tonight. I was like, I'm already at the fucking airport. And I'm like, I'm already at the fucking airport.
Yeah.
Just put me on that flight. I knew it wasn't going to get me home.
Wonder how she was able to see that and the other people.
Right.
Like, okay.
It's whatever. I'm not going to say, I don't think it was racism because, again, I was coming from Guatemala. It's not like I was
competency at best.
maybe it was like a system they couldn't see certain things. I don't know. It's a different country. So I'm going to give them, even though I don't need to give them the benefit of the doubt, but like, I don't always think everything is what
we don't have all the information.
We don't have all the information. But anyway, sis helped me out. She hooked me up. I got on that flight that night and I came home. And I was like, thank fuck.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've come back from a trip and it was like, happy to be home. Because, like, usually when I'm, like, coming back from a trip, I'm like, damn, I'm trying to be on this longer. Like, Hawaii, I ain't want to leave. Both times I went to Europe, I ain't want to leave. Like, usually, like, even when I did my, like, road trip just on the West Coast, like, I ain't want to come home. This time I was like, just get me the fuck. Or, like, this is crazy. I am not a patriotic bitch. But I was about to be doing bald eagle noises in fucking Guatemala because I was like, just get me back on U.S. soil, please.
That's real.
I needed to get the fuck home. I was like, I don't care what city you get me to. I was looking for flights. I was like, I don't care if I got a book on Delta to go through Atlanta. I don't care if I got a book on United to go through Chicago. Like something to get me the fuck out of here. But
right,
yeah,
damn.
I had an ordeal. That's why I said it was a trip, and it was a trip.
Well, when we get to your hating, we'll understand why this trip had to be what it was, I guess.
Exactly. And so, like I said, this hating and loving is going to be a YouTube exclusive. The ones you guys are going to get later in this episode, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever pods are cast, is the hating and loving that we recorded pre-trip on July 4th. Just, you know, I find it funny. But anyway, big sister, what you been up to? How's life in you?
My time hasn't been as eventful, but that's probably a good thing. So I have two things to catch you guys up on. One is pretty brief. I pretty much while you were on your trip, I was spending time dog/house sitting. It's one of my chosen side gigs, so it's something I would probably do. Well, I was doing it before, you know, kind of like getting a lot of stability in my life. It was one of those things that was helpful during that sort of transition to house sit and pet sit and all that stuff. So I just kind of like, I don't know, I enjoyed it so much. I'm like, I'll still do it, you know, to be gas money or something like that. Mm-hmm. A little extra treat myself for a massage kind of money. So, yeah, and it gives me a lot of joy. Like, I honestly, really, really love dogs. Like, I think I might secretly be a dog whisperer, like, deep down inside. Because like lately, all kinds of dogs have been like gravitating to me. Like I'll just see a strange dog and they'll like be fine, sniffing and licking me and stuff. So, and even the so-called aggressive ones, you know, I like right now, pit bulls are like my favorites to watch.
I'm sorry, pit bulls, that is such like erroneous stereotype that they're aggressive by nature. Pit bulls are the biggest fucking babies. If you know a pit bull that hasn't been socialized to be aggressive, then you know a big ass 80-pound solid muscle baby.
I mean, truly, they really are softies. But that's, you know, they are so loving, and at the same time, they can be very protective to people they love. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, the pits are one of my favorites. I've yet to really, the only breed I haven't come across that I really fuck with yet is a Rottweiler, which I'm sure they probably have a stigma to them too, but I just haven't either had the opportunity to engage with one as much. And they do kind of look scary. I ain't gonna hold you. So, but like German Shepherds, I have a friend, I was fucking with his German Shepherd for a while. That dog was really great because I knew that dog since they were a puppy too. So yeah, a lot of these aggressive breeds are just.
I was gonna say German Shepherds. They don't look. I mean, on the surface, on the surface they don't look like superficially aggressive. Mm-hmm. But I always associate German Shepherds with like the police. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't always trust y'all niggas. Y'all
again, if they're trained to be that's what they're gonna be. You know what I'm saying? But the one that I knew was chill, just like hair everywhere was really the issue.
Yeah, but that's like Daddy's dog Birdie. Sorry to interrupt. Daddy's dog Birdie is a Shepherd pit bull mix, and that's why he is the biggest baby. Like Birdie is an 80-something pound baby.
He don't seem hairy though.
He's not. He really isn't. Well, also Daddy take good care of him to get his undercoat because he's also part pit bull. So I think that's why he's not as fluffy.
Right.
But Daddy does a good job getting his undercoat because, Birdie used to leave a trail of hair every goddamn.
But he's a cutie. Yeah, he's a cutie.
That's right.
So that's one thing. And then the other thing on a positive note, because most of this will not be positive. But, and I might have mentioned this, I feel like, in our other conversation. So if you guys listen to both, then you'll kind of get a fuller picture from this one. But I am rereading The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Yo, honestly, this should be like the actual Bible for all humanity. Like the Bible's great and complex and poetic and shit. You know, it's the Bible, I feel like, is really more of a literary study, in my opinion, if you want to be serious about it. Mm-hmm. And honestly, people might understand it more spiritually if they looked at it like a literary resource. Like it's various forms of literature in the Bible. However, this book right here is just simplifies how to put it, like these agreements simplify the best way to engage with humanity, essentially.
Yeah, I agree.
And and he even says it in the beginning of this second chapter where he talks about the first agreement. Now, I did skip the first chapter this time. I'll go back, but I was just trying to get into the agreements because he talks about how he got to this point, how he got these agreements and all this stuff. And so I'm going to go back and read that. But the first agreement he talks about is being impeccable with your word. And he starts off by saying the first agreement is the most important one and also the most difficult one to honor. The first agreement, hold on. I got a bunch highlighted here. Yeah, so like almost the other three agreements, especially the next two, which is, what's the second one? Hold on.
Always do your best, right?
Oh, no, that's the last one. Second one is don't take anything personally.
Yeah.
And then the third one is never make assumptions. And if you think about it, those two pretty much hang off the first one, right? Because like if you're impeccable with your word and what you say, then it's almost like if you can start there, it almost transforms how you receive communication from other people because you've already started off that premise. Mm-hmm. It's just mandatory reading. So I'm about to buy
it because this is a perfect transition because that's what we talked about in our Watcher and Dancer.
Oh, did we?
2 weeks ago. And so y'all about to hear a little bit more of our in-depth analysis of Four Agreements because I talk about that all the time. There's 3 books that I recommend to everybody who is looking to go on a healing journey, which ultimately, in my opinion, if you're doing a healing journey right, has to include some kind of spiritual enlightenment as well. And it would be the Four Agreements, The Alchemist, and The Power of Now.
Now, I meant to ask you, because you normally bring up the Tethered Soul. There was a while that you bring up the Tethered Soul. So between the Power of Now and the Tethered Soul, which one for you?
The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would say the Power of Now over the Untethered Soul, because I think the Untethered Soul is amazing, and I would recommend that if you wanted to go beyond the top 3.
I see.
I would say that's in my top 5. That would come after the Power of Now. The reason why I really fuck with the Power of Now over the Untethered Soul, or not over it, but I feel like
the beginning,
is because it really does make it more tangible. The idea of being in the present moment and why it's important. Living in the past, that's how you get depression. And living in the future, that's how you get anxiety. Right. But staying in the present moment is how you stay in that balanced place where both the good and the bad, the light and the dark flow through you because you are living in the current moment. You're not living in the past and nostalgia, being depressed that things aren't the way that they are or were, and you're not anxious about what hasn't even happened yet. Yeah. And then when you move over to the Untethered Soul, I think if you understand the concepts of the Four Agreements and the Power of Now, it'll help you receive the Untethered Soul from a more healed place. Because I think if you skip to the Untethered Soul, that's where you get some I feel like you're skipping a few steps, right?
Interesting. Okay.
I feel like you need to have certain information to be able to fully receive the Untethered Soul the way I feel like Michael Singer, even the way he said it himself, is supposed to be received. There's a bit of an ego death that has to occur already.
Interesting.
To be able to receive that in the way that he's received. Now, The Alchemist, that book is just so fucking good.
It's more of it's a fiction. Out of all 4 of these books, it's the only fiction novel,
right?
Which I agree that sometimes people receive deep spiritual lessons or messaging better sometimes if it's in a fictional manner.
That's why there were parables. That's why Jesus spoke parables. Because I completely agree. Yeah, and so I was about to say with The Alchemist, you can listen to it at any point in your journey, but it's going to hit different at different parts of your journey. So that's why I don't always recommend starting with The Alchemist. But if you wanted to ease into it and to say, hey, I want something that is going to be a narrative as opposed to strictly informative, even though books like the Power of Now and even the Untethered Soul and the Four Agreements do use anecdotes within it.
But that's different.
Yeah, exactly. Being anecdotal as opposed to having an overarching narrative, those are 2 different ways of telling a story. So The Alchemist is strictly done in the style of being a narrative, but within it are so many beautiful nuggets about life, about enduring, about change,
I might need to reread that one too. Ooh.
Bitch. And here's the thing. I have that on audiobook. Actually, a lot of these books, like, I found that Audible books help me more because of my ADHD. Like, when I sit down and try to read a book nowadays, and I used to absorb books. You know, I used to read a lot of books when I was younger.
Yeah.
But for some reason, nowadays, it's, like, hard for me to concentrate long enough. Like, after a while, my mind starts to drift a little, and I'm, like, reading but not absorbing.
Right.
Whereas, like, if I listen to an Audible book, like, it's almost like listening to a podcast. It's like, I can do other things because, like, it helps me. Like, I need to multitask type things. Like, I need the back of my brain to be occupied by something. So if I'm driving and listening to an audiobook, I'm actually absorbing it better than if I try to sit down in one spot and, like, listen to it. But anyway, that's a tangent. Anyway, I say all that to say, The Alchemist, I've listened to it like 3 times because not only is that book amazing, it's performed so incredibly by Jeremy Irons.
Oh, okay.
So it makes it easy to listen to because it's very entertaining. It's well acted, and he has that iconic voice.
Exactly. Do they use, like, sound effects and stuff too? Because I know there's, like, a lot of camels and, like, I think there's something like a market in there.
Right.
Like market. They don't really use, like,
it's literally just they depend on the excellent acting and incredible voice of Jeremy Irons. And he does an amazing job. So that's my selling point for it if you want to get the Audible book over the physical. But I would say nowadays we need both. You need to get your Audible book, but also get your physical copy because some books are starting to disappear from these Audible services, even though you've paid for them. It's like, oh, well, it's no longer supported. Well, like, where am I going to get the book now? Like, I paid for this book and you no longer support it on your platform. You going to give me a credit so I can buy a new one or not?
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm trying to get a few books. Like what's that Octavia Spencer book? That's
Octavia Butler.
Yeah.
The Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Sower. That's the ones I'm talking about. Actually, you brought them up. I listened to Parable of the Sower, and I listened to the majority of Parable of the Talents. It started to get heavy, and so I switched. Yeah, I mean both of them are heavy, but I feel like. Without giving anything away, I don't want to give anything away since you're going to listen to it. A lot of things happen with, like, character development that start to get, like, it started to, like, hit me too hard. And I was like, okay, I've been listening to these books back to back. That's all I've been reading. Maybe I need a little break. And then I took a long break. It's been like 2 months since I listened to it. But I'm almost done Parable of the Talents. But those are the 2 books I'm talking about. Like, I think one of them is about to not be available on Audible anymore. And I'm like, well, I got to get the physical copy of a lot of these books just to make sure I have them.
And there are places still selling them. And they probably will always sell them, you know.
Until they can't, is what I'm saying.
Or until they get caught. But like I said, that might have to be next week's conversation. My God. Put a pin in that.
And the fashion. Oh, and the conversation I had with a German lady on my trip.
Oh, yeah. Put a pin in that for next week, for sure.
But that'll be our watcher and dancer next week.
Yeah.
Talking about, you know, this tiny hands Mango Mussolini. But anyway, so yeah.
Did you come up with that one, or did you hear that?
I'm pretty sure I've heard that somewhere else. Like, I'm clever, but like, it's just one of my favorites. That and the Tangerine Tyrant. Those 2 are my favorite. But yeah, you guys, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, you guys will be listening to our Watcher and Dancer and Hating and Loving from 2 weeks ago. And again, check out our YouTube exclusives for last week's catch up and this week's Hating and Loving.
Yes. But okay, so what is our Watcher and Dancer topic again today? Oh yes, yes, okay.
Yes, so that was us ranting and getting shit off our chest. But Watcher and Dancer this week, we wanted to talk more about purpose-driven versus ego-driven. And I know, like, I brought that up a little bit last week when we were talking about, like, deconstructing Christianity and stuff like that. But I feel like this can be, like, even broader. And so first thing I'll start with is, like, a definition of what we mean by purpose-driven versus ego-driven. Because I think a lot of people might hear purpose-driven and they think, oh, the purpose-driven life, like that Christian self-help book or whatever, but that's not what we're talking about. So,
which I do have a caveat on that, but do your definition. I have a little caveat on that. Do realize I was going to do some research.
Yeah. Okay, got you. So ego-driven people are motivated by a desire to prove themselves or gain external validation, while purpose-driven people are motivated by a deeper reason for pursuing their goal and are internally validated. And it's important to say that, like, nobody is wholly just one or the other, but most people lean heavily into one or the other. And it's kind of like that yin and yang type thing where it's like, yeah, they're opposites, but there's a little dot in each of them because, like, we're human. And most of the time have the capacity for both light and dark within us, although some people, they just...
So we really don't think any of it. No light at all. No light.
What is that?
It's Florence and the Machine. Anyway, so quick differentiation of what we mean by purpose-driven versus what Rick Warren, the pastor, who wrote the book Purpose-Driven Life, what he defines as purpose-driven, it's actually not that far off from what we're saying. It's just that his context is obviously within a Western Christian tradition, essentially. So, like, I Googled how does Rick Warren describe purpose-driven in his book. AI Overview says, Rick Warren describes a purpose-driven life as one centered on God's 5 purposes for humanity. Again, you'd have to read the book to see how he got to these 5 and if there's any scriptural basis, if you require that out of a book. But, one that claims to be Christian at least. But I'm going to read this, but I did a little research. There's even some interesting things about him that surprised me, actually. So his 5 purposes for humanity are worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, and mission. He argues that our understanding and fulfilling these purposes as outlined in the Bible is the key to finding meaning, significance, and true fulfillment in life. And so the worship is just like living a life that pleases God, not just through religious practices, but through every aspect of your daily life. Fellowship is being part of God's family, experiencing meaningful relationships with other believers and loving them unselfishly. Discipleship, growing to become more like Jesus, learning to live according to his values and character. Ministry, serving others using your unique gifts and talents. And then mission is sharing the good news of Jesus with others and making disciples. So again, like, I feel like there's a general the general idea is similar to what we're about to discuss as far as how we define generally. Like if you take all of the specifics out, generally it's like you shouldn't be motivated for like, it shouldn't be like for self, external validation. It shouldn't be external to some extent, right? You're saying it should be your relationship with God that drives you. That's your purpose or whatever. Even though it is kind of external because you're following these like tenets.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like
everyone wants to box you in. But I will say, so at first, the first thing I actually looked up, because I just made this assumption about him in this book. I was like, what Rick Warren's purpose-driven life is problematic, or problems with it, right?
Right.
And surprisingly, I didn't do like a super in-depth research on that, but nothing really came up. What came up really first is he got into some hot water with the Southern Baptist Convention because he allows women to be pastors. He is supportive of the LGBTQ community. And there is something else about him trying to I guess he was preaching in a way that sounded like he was trying to reconcile Islam and Christianity in some way, and they weren't feeling it. Right. So I was actually like, now I'm curious to hear a little bit more about that situation because it does, for me, it at least puts him in a different light than I was assuming he was in. And, because he wrote this book and because I know of other books that are written by Christians that those people have different types of scandals. And, so it's really good that like seeing his character and these scandals happened in the last 4 or 5 years. So it's pretty recent that he's been like that and been basically condemned by the, evangelical church essentially. So kind of makes me feel like, okay,
say if they don't like you, maybe there's something there.
And I wonder if anyone has asked him about his book since all of this, and maybe if he's reflected on some things in that, and because when you get betrayed, which I would imagine he feels betrayed by the overall church, and how to there's a lot that you grapple with, and you start to reevaluate some things. So I might go on a little bit of a rabbit hole with that. Not too much because I don't actually care that much, but I'm just curious to see what, because this book has been a pretty prominent book amongst Christians, especially when it first came out. And yeah, so just wanted to give a little caveat on purpose driven as far as that goes, if that's what you associate that term with. And but that ain't what we talking about.
Nah, but I mean, that's interesting. I definitely didn't do any personal research on it. I just was kind of aware of it being a thing. And I thought that could possibly be a hindrance, to people understanding what we're talking about. So if that sounded interesting to you, go ahead and look into that. But yeah, purpose. So for the purpose of this conversation, we're defining purpose-driven as people who are internally validated and motivated by a deeper internal intrinsic reason, and ego-driven people being externally validated, motivated by a desire to prove themselves. And I think the reason why we started to talk about this at one point was we were talking about hierarchy. And this is something that I talk about a lot because a lot of people are doing things they're making conscious decisions with subconscious motivations. And we see that a lot when it comes to hierarchy, because hierarchy itself is very ego driven because it is very much predicated on the desire to prove yourself and to gain external validation. And so if you're in an environment where that is the norm for the culture, then it is also normal that people will do whatever they need to do to step on somebody's neck, to climb higher, or they'll do whatever they have to do to not rock the boat, to not be the person to bring up, issues or problems because they don't want to be the scapegoat.
Yeah.
And it's all to get in where you fit in this hierarchy, because the higher you are, the more power, the more control that you get, and you feel this sense of worth because you're well, I am so-and-so. But my biggest issue with ego-driven people, or two biggest, is the selfishness of it all. But also, damn, I'm so sorry. I have a sore throat, and I was thinking about that, and it made me lose my train of thought.
No. You said the selfishness of it all. I know, just walk on somebody.
And there was a second point that I was going to make. But I got it. Sorry, it's back. But the biggest thing is more so that your sense of self is completely tied to what other people think of you. And so it actually constrains you from being able to be authentic, because say if you are somebody who is naturally has a desire to be more whimsical, right? But you are a cis white male who is like generally attractive, right? And you have been given the keys to the kingdom. But you know that, like, in your heart, you would be happier if you, like, grew your hair out and got a nose ring.
Just you want
exactly. Grew your hair out, got a nose ring, and lived out of a van for 3 months or something like that. Like, that's something you've always wanted to do, but you're never going to do that unless you have some kind of, like, come to Jesus moment, which isn't an actual, like, you know, come to Jesus, but you know.
And I know a couple of cis white men that are very sassy with their girlfriends, and they live out of their van. I got one guy.
Of course, you know. Of course, I described your tribe.
He used to come into the market all the time. Like, I love him. He's everything. But yeah,
but I was just pulling it. I'm like, you know, there's like they're at the quote unquote top of the totem pole. So if you're a cis white man, straight, relatively attractive according to their standards or whatever, the sky's the limit. For them. Like, as long as they have a moderately decent personality and ability to interact and kiss the right asses, there's no limit for where they can go within the system, though. Because, like I said, say if that person was like, actually, honestly, like, if I had my choice, I would be a veterinarian, or I would own a pet store. You know, something like that. And it's like, but because you've been confined by the shoulds of where you fall in the hierarchy, now you feel like, okay, well, I guess I gotta find a trophy wife, marry her, have a couple kids, and devote the next 30 years of my life to this company so I can retire with a pension. Like, you know, and then just keep continuing to tell yourself and teach the next generations, this is happiness. They got to gaslight themselves a lot of the times. This is happiness.
And honestly, it's really sad when a cis hetero white male does end up being or oppressing himself that way, because honestly, they can get away with being sassy more than others.
Absolutely.
They really could, like, look at Bowie, look at every rock star, look at, like, you know, I mean, generally, if you're an artist and you're successful, you can get away with it no matter what. But they kind of get away with it a little bit more no matter what their field is sometimes. But yeah, to your point, a lot of them still do, you know, conform to that and are oppressing themselves.
Right. For sure. All because they've been taught to value the opinions of others over, like, listening to their true selves. And so I feel like our society is not only run by ego-driven people, but they've created a culture that has since indoctrinated people to be ego-driven, like hyper individualism. The reason why we don't build community here, like to your point earlier about, like, what's the next steps, it is learning how to be in community with people.
Yes.
And it's not always people that you're going to have a 100% agreement on either. If you guys have an overall agreement and you're able to compromise on certain things, then that's how you build community. But we got so used to this idea that, like, oh, it's my way or the highway. And I think we talked about this before, the whole ideal that they sell you about having the family and your own house as opposed to, like, living together is, like, to trick the peasant class into believing that you are the king of your own domain. Like, look at you. You have your wife and your kids. You have your heirs. And you have your home and your throne. And it is like, but at the same time, in order for you to have that, you're still a slave to the king. Because you got to go and work every day and only get 2, maybe 3 weeks of vacation a year if you're lucky. And sell 30, 40 years of your life to a company in order to be the king of your own domain.
And only hope they don't fuck you sideways out of any of that anyway.
Right.
You know, I want to, maybe you can look it up for the sake of really understanding what we're explaining. What is the ego? Because some people might, you know, based on their understanding of the world, and, you know, and when I say certain people, I mean a certain type of personality type that is ultimately probably responsible for creating the systems we live in, if we're honest, because and we're going to talk about this later anyway, but they literally they only know themselves by what people externally say about them. And so they have to create, like, for them, it might be like, well, what's wrong with an ego? Like, the ego is who I am, right? Like, what is an ego then? Like, what's the psychology of that?
Yeah, so you're talking about the id, ego, and super ego.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, so that's
what's the ego generally, even, but, you know, to our personhood, you know.
Right. So id, ego, and super ego are like Freudian psychoanalytic theory. And so the way I remember it is like the id is just do it. It's kind of like instant gratification, your basic needs and desires. It's like that primitive brain. Like, I guess when they say, you know, your primitive brain kicked in, it's the id. But it's also considered the source of all psychic energy. So, and it's driven by basic needs and desires, and it operates entirely unconsciously. But it seeks like instant gratification without regard for consequences or social norms, right? So that's the id. That's the just do it. The ego is something that develops as you start to interact with the world. So it's the conscious part of the mind. It's responsible for decision making and problem solving. And basically it's the go-between between the id and what you and society's demands and constraints of reality. Right? So the ego keeps the id in check, and it begins to keep the id in check by learning the culture in which that person is being brought up in. Right? And then the super ego is the internalizing of that societal and parental rules and standards. It's kind of like a moral conscience, judging actions and inducing inducing feelings of guilt or pride. So I think actually super ego in that regard is more of what you were thinking of. Give me 1 second.
So I'm looking up, what part does ego play in forming a core identity? Self-concept formation. Okay.
Yeah, I think what that's going to do is it's going to still bring up the Freudian psychoanalytic theory. Probably. And because, like, when you think of ego, I think you're thinking of, like, people's sense of self. Yeah, you're saying that. But in the id, ego, super ego, they're not inseparable. There are three parts of the human psyche that interact to form personality. So you can't really separate the id, ego, and super ego. They're all like, you know, they all interact to form your personality. And the ego is considered the realistic part of the brain that mediates between the id's desire and the external world that you usually start to, you know, internalize as you get older via the super ego.
But from the way I'm hearing it, it sounds like the ego really needs to be the most rational and fully formed in order to mediate between these two, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the way it sounds is like that. And that's why I wonder if that's why we often just say the ego at the end of the day, because while all three are part of your identity as a whole, like that ego itself is that centered balance. It's the mediator, right? Because this is saying, it's a lot here, but yeah, I mean, essentially, like, it's the part of the personality that helps individuals adapt to their environment, develop a sense of self, and build a coherent understanding of who they are. And this often is like formed during your adolescence, essentially, right? Like by the time you get to what age would you say people usually have their ego, or whoever they are is pretty much who they are, essentially, like around what age?
So the first 7 years are the most important developmentally. This is me reaching back into my developmental psychology bag. But yeah, 7 years, the first 7 years are the most formative years for adolescents. But I think that we need to find something that defines ego the way that you're defining it, because so actually I like this example that I just Googled. So this is a good example to explain how the id, ego, and superego interact. So imagine someone feeling hungry while in a meeting. The id might urge them to grab a snack immediately, while the superego might remind them that eating during the meeting is impolite. The ego would then mediate, perhaps suggesting they wait until the meeting is over to have a snack. So it's that mediator. So the id and the superego are two opposing forces, basically. The id is that lizard brain. It's that primitive. It's like these are the needs. This is impulse and everything. This is who you are. This is this is the watcher. This is who watches the thoughts, basically, right? And then the superego is everything that you've internalized from the external conditioning that you've been given. So whether it's your familial culture, your environmental culture, your religious culture, those standards and benefits and beliefs and everything like that are ingrained in you are the superego. A well-developed ego works as a mediator to help bring harmony between the id and the superego. But I agree in some respects that the ego is the most important one, but not because it's who you truly are. Right. It's more so because it needs to be well developed so that you are able to mediate between the two. And I feel like so many people are stuck in either id or superego, and their ego actually isn't as developed as it needs to be. Hence, I guess why people say like, "Oh, you have a small ego, you have a tiny ego." I say you have an underdeveloped a fragile, underdeveloped ego. Yeah, because I just thought of Beyonce. I got a big ego. It's like, yeah, because she knows who she is, but at the same time, she doesn't have to keep proving it. Like, I love how she stays out of certain things, But anyway. Exactly, because it's like, well, I know who I am, and
why am I going to argue with people who don't know me?
Exactly,
I love it. So, what can impede on a healthy developing a healthy ego? Then, what sorts of things happen?
So, and this is just me talking. I'm not saying that I am grabbing this from any sources or anything like that, but I feel like, obviously, like as you're growing up, if your basic needs aren't met and you are in a system that is chaotic, right? You can skew, you can swing to either side of that, or even have this fucked up combination of living in your id and your superego. And I feel like that kind of combination causes a lot of shame, because you got all these things that you intrinsically want to do. Yeah. But then you have all these voices outside of you telling you that you're supposed to do. Exactly. And there's nothing in the middle to be like, actually, you don't need to listen to what this person is talking about because you know that, X, Y, Z. Or this is good advice there that maybe we could implement because it's not the right place, right time, right? And so, yeah, I think that's where a lot of shame comes from, is like basically you living, like having a very underdeveloped ego.
Y'all, we just described how narcissists become narcissists. Dead ass, like. Sorry, y'all. I've been obsessed with narcissists lately because they keep following me everywhere. But I mean that, like we're going to talk about later. That is the shame thing with that, and like think about the and with that said, I don't know if this correlates, but like these are typically the people that are creating our systems because they have to have an external idea of self. Their self doesn't come from within. So you have to create these systems like, well, you are great if you become the CEO of a company. If you make this, but it's almost like what validates their existence can never be enough. They're constant, and it's not even like they're thinking about. It's almost impossible for them to consider how what they're doing does to other people and have that super ego kind of come in. Because they're operating so much in this id maybe sometimes that it's hard to I wonder if that's what prevents them from having any kind of empathy, because at the end of the day, they're just trying to form a self based on external systems that they created.
Right. But I think that the reason why it's easy for them to not care is because in their world or in their mind, everybody is doing this. They don't have a concept that everybody isn't out here being ruthless, or they assume that, if this person was in my shoes, they would do the same thing. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people who would be just as terrible as soon as they get money, as soon as they get any kind of clout. Even you talk about the smallest little bit of power.
Yeah.
I got 10,000 followers on TikTok or whatever. And it's like, now I'm brand new. And it's like,
all y'all hate me. All y'all want to be me.
Right. Really. I saw a picture the other day and it was so dumb. Somebody was talking about something. They posted a picture of their trunk was open and it had an Hermes bag, a Fendi bag, and something like that. Right. And the caption was like, let me guess, I'm canceled just like Jeff Bezos because I'm not broke like you hoes. I'm like, well, firstly, the car they was driving, I think it was like a Nissan or something like that. So calm down. But just being able to have a couple of bags of stuff in your trunk does not put you on the same level as a motherfucker who just spent billions of dollars on a wedding and rented out Venice. Literally, it's crazy. He fucking rented out a city or a section of a city. And
really, I'm like, girl, Hermes is who's rich. They got your money.
Hello. And who's to say what's in those bags? You could have got them bags out of somebody's trash.
Listen, I mean, you could have thrifted those bags, which I wouldn't be mad at. Resourceful.
Right. Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. No, but that's what I'm saying. It's it's this need to prove that I have status, I'm this, that, and the other. And it comes from this external thing. And that's why it's never enough. Because if your identity is predicated on the validation that you get from others, as opposed to you knowing who you are and being at peace with that, then that's how we get the system that we're in right now. We're being run by a bunch of ego-driven people, and that's why when they encounter purpose-driven people, it seems like such a threat to them because going back to what I just said, a lot of them assume that everybody else is thinking the same way that they are.
Right.
And for the most part in our society, whether out of conditioning or necessity, a lot of people are like that. They're like, me. Let me get mine, by any means necessary type shit.
Right.
And then you'll have some people who are like, well, actually, I'm here to do this. This is my purpose. This is what I feel like I've been called to do.
Right.
It's usually somebody who creates something, whether it's artistically or creating a foundation, creating a program, creating a school, a business, something, right? That brings life. And this is something that I was talking about the other day when we were talking. I said, ego-driven people, they don't create, they perpetuate.
Boom. Yeah, you did. Yep.
Yeah. And I feel like purpose-driven people, we don't perpetuate, we break. We break.
Yeah.
Change, we break
or change. We initiate a lot of change.
Yeah, chain breakers. By creating
the status quo doesn't make sense to us. It's like, how can people be individuals under this these confinements. Like we respect
Exactly.
individuality because we know who we are. We want others to know who they are. Like,
because it's a freedom in that. Like, yes, there is a lot of external backlash, but the reason why purpose-driven people are able to live in their authenticity, even in the face of backlash from the general public, is because they're not doing it for the external validation. They're doing it because it's a genuine expression of their soul. It's their purpose. It's their mission. And it always baffled me once I started to like, my eyes started to open up to like hierarchy and these like scripts and roles that everybody's fucking playing. I keep having these lost.
This was me. I feel like this was me last week or last couple of weeks. I kept having brain farts. Well, maybe it'll come back to you. I was because as you were talking, I was thinking about also why, gosh, like you'll find one way you can tell somebody struggles in this particular way with ego versus purpose driven, or possibly, has some narcissistic tendencies, is when they try to create the boxes, right? Like they come into an environment that might be freeing, more free flowing, and they're all, well, they need to do, right? And some people, especially if you're in a place of transition or like, the company's trying to make some new changes and, create a little more structure, not a lot, but they notice that there's things that need changing. Mm-hmm. So you'll get someone who comes in and everyone needs to wear this color, right? And it seems like the right thing to do because one, we, ultimately, even if you are a more purpose-driven person, individual, you live in this society where certain things are seen as better than others, right? And rewarded. So you might struggle with like, okay, maybe this is the best way to go because we do see we need change in certain ways. So let's rely on this energy to do it. But then you realize it's like they're only doing that because they have no sense of what it means to have an expression. So like, to a need to be expressive. They're like, what do you mean? Like, just, this is what you got to follow these rules. And they're like, it freaks them out if people are not following a rule.
Exactly. Because to them, these rules, these boxes, these checklists are how they operate in the world. Like they've never learned to operate from an internal like purpose or drive, right? And so they think, oh, well, this is how things are. And so I'm like, they don't create, they perpetuate. That's literally like, I don't know where I came up with that bar, but I'm about to trademark it before somebody put that shit on a t-shirt. But like, like for real, like they don't create, they perpetuate. So just like you said, they come in and they think that they're, building this new system that's going to make you guys more efficient. But in reality, all you're doing is it's the same shit, different toilet. And it may not work for this environment if you do it bar for bar, but because you don't have any way to pivot or flex, to the dynamic of what's actually going on, you're just stuck. And you're like, well, I don't know what to do because this is supposed to work because the script says this goes next. Yeah.
Yep. And now the people who were creative are like basically in fucking
handcuffs. The straight jacket.
And we're like in straight jackets. Like, well, what the fuck are we supposed to do now? Like, we were creatives. Like, and that reminds me of what this thought that I had a few weeks ago about, I might have told you this too, where like we have it flipped when it comes to like masculine and feminine energy, that we put feminine energy in servitude to the masculine, right? Like the wife serves the husband, or, even like how we see art is very much like, well, it's there to generate commerce, entertainment, and all that stuff. That's why you see these movies and like eventually, we were talking about this yesterday when we were preparing for this, like you'll get this like musician that changes everything, or this director that's changing everything and made this movie that's so different. And the next thing you know, you just got people that repeat that same thing and create a structure out of it, right?
Right.
So that it can generate profit, right? In numbers. So this is where we are. It's like, So then people become afraid to try something new because this thing that was new is now the norm. And if you want to make a horror movie, you got to do it like that. Well, no, not if you're Jordan Peele. Not if you Ryan Coogler. You do it the way you fucking want to do it and change the game. And now, but what you're going to see is a bunch of niggas doing that shit. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And you can't until somebody has the ball to do something creative eventually. And that's not to say that everything that follows a certain structure is bad. Sometimes those things are actually pretty good. They're well written. Maybe they take a slightly different angle on it, you know, something like that. It's not to say that everything that derives from it or derives in that manner is bad.
Right.
Because again, like there's a reason why somebody created something new so that it could be a norm to some extent, you know? But yeah, again, when you find that there's certain types of artists or entertainers that kind of just follow a system, that just follow a thing, even if they're reinventing themselves, but the reinvention ain't nothing new. you know, or honestly, I think she's very authentic to her mediocre self.
But her quote unquote eras, like you could play 10 songs in a row of hers, and I couldn't tell you what album it's from.
but even to that point, I'm like, look, if your authentic self is mediocrity, great. You know what I mean? Like that's who you are. And if it gets you money, gets you bags, blessings to you. But I think you were bringing up when we were comparing Drake and Kendrick. And just how, again, like the authenticity of it is just like certain out of the two of them, one person you can you can go back all the way to their beginnings and see how they got here. You can't really do that with the other person.
So yes, I'm glad you brought it back around to that because so that when we were talking about this, and I was thinking about examples of ego-driven people, it made me think of Drake. Because if you look at his career or his life, he literally he jumps from culture to culture, co-opting it, acting like he was already in it. Like he could literally he'll one day he's, you know, Brody, Toronto accent. The next day he's, you know, big things like he's from the fucking Caribbean. Then, you know, he's like, you know, I'm a London Don doing like fucking drill music. And then he's in Atlanta and he's doing, you know, he think he's from New York when he on a song with Nicki. Like, he think he's from New Orleans when he on a song with Lil Wayne. Like, he literally just like goes where like he goes to the motion of the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can feel almost disrespectful, really, because there's a way to do it that's more like honoring to a culture. I actually think Ed Sheeran's doing a good job of that right now. I haven't listened to, I think he has an album either coming out or it just came out, but he has a lot of like Indian influences in this music. And he's very like, it's not even like, you can still hear him in it and like how he makes music or whatever. While he's also very blatant, like, you know, there's history. Like he called a song a certain name that actually is tied to the culture. You can like look up the history of it and things like that. Like there's a way to go about honoring something that you're inspired by. Like I'm never about like, don't be inspired. Cause like, that's, you know, that's who we are. You know, it is a fine line. But you know, there's a way to be inspired by something so heavily but you can see how it's a marriage between who you are at your core and this thing that's inspiring you.
So y'all, this sharp jump cut is brought to you courtesy of my sore throat because I had to stop in the middle of what I was saying and make myself a cup of tea.
I was feeling bad. I kept seeing you struggle.
I'm like, I'm over here muting myself and stuff. I'm like, let me just get up and make a cup of tea. But because of that, we forgot what we were talking about.
But I honestly think we spoke about it pretty well. I think what I was going to get to is just like going back to So we kind of dissected what an ego is and how that can be a motivator. So people being ego driven comes from a place of like basically having an unhealthy ego, for like
underdeveloped
ego, and so quite possibly it sounds like in order to be truly purpose driven, you do have to have a healthy ego. You can't be operating from that place of deficiency.
Absolutely. I do believe that the most secure and purpose-driven people have more developed egos because we all have those basic instincts and needs and drives, right? And then we've all grown up in some culture or another. But having a well-developed ego allows you to not be somebody who's just driven by impulse, but also not be somebody who is afraid of bucking social norms.
Driven by shame.
Driven by shame, exactly.
It's always like,
Exactly, because your super ego and your id are always chatting with each other.
Yeah.
And the ego, if they're well trained, they're like, okay, you stay in your corner. And this time it is going, is going to get it.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. It's like, you need to calm down. I know you're hungry, but in the middle of this presentation ain't the time for you to be grabbing a snack. Let's wait until this meeting is over and then we can go get a snack.
Think about something else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's something that if we looked at it that way and treated people that way, that it could possibly lead to people being more introspective and facing that shame and facing that guilt and that fear. Again, we're going back to the big three that I always talk about.
Right.
Because I feel like, when you have an underdeveloped ego, you're more susceptible to those things. You're afraid of going against this societal conditioning that you've internalized. You're ashamed for having the desire even to do certain things, right? And then you feel guilty if you give in to certain things because you're like, well, I shouldn't have done that, and the shoulds and shoulds and shoulds, and I should have, and blah, 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 blah. But having that more developed ego, you can navigate and mediate between the two in a healthy way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I wonder too, like, because kind of going back to how we were saying purpose driven is not the Rick Warren book. And I think from what I'm hearing, how we're talking about it, like, again, what it seems like, and I'd have to read the book again. If anybody has read it recently, you can kind of like leave some comments. And, but again, it feels like based on how he broke it down, that it again is not coming from an internal place. It's again coming from these like tenets of things to follow to determine whether you are purpose driven, right? You know what I mean? Like, okay. In a sense, and it's always correlated back to like this external God thing, or at least this external Christian institution thing. Because I'm not even opposed to your core identity being associated with like your creator. If you believe that, however you believe in a creator, like to me, that's a pretty strong place to be, because it doesn't have to, and it's not tied to an institution or some formalized religious sect of any kind. It's like, sure, that might be involved because that's how your upbringing is or whatever. Like, it's kind of hard to detach from those things, whatever religion it is. If you were brought up that way, generally, it's kind of like it's going to inform you to some extent. And so, like, but yeah, even if it's just about like, I feel connected to the universe, the earth, the like, and that's how so it's not really like it's external. It's just like an umbilical cord, like you know what I mean? Like, this is what the life force that I connect with. And, I do wonder about that. Like how purpose driven, how much is purpose driven, motivated just strictly from inside of you, or is there a healthy way or a healthy attachment to something else that can still be a purpose-driven like identity or motivation?
Yeah. Well, going back to the yin and yang example, It's a little light in the dark and there's a little dark in the light, and that's how things are balanced, right? So I feel like even purpose-driven people, to some extent, not obviously as much as ego-driven people, get something from an external source, whether it's validation or a beacon, something that they can that sheds light on things for them, right? If it's outside of themselves, then it's not. That doesn't mean that it's not still purpose driven. It just means that it is an external tool. Just like when we were talking before, and I was telling you how like ego-driven people, they might hear the definition of purpose-driven and ego-driven and think, well, I'm actually purpose-driven because I have a purpose in why I play the game at the office. And my purpose is to be able to get a job, to do this, that, and the other. And it's like, yes, you may have a purpose and you may think that it's internally motivated. And yeah, to some degree, your value system may have been constructed in a way that you genuinely believe like this is my purpose.
You've now internalized the external.
Exactly. And so you feel like, yes, this is my purpose. My purpose is to do X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, you're doing things based off of an external validation. It's very ego driven in that regard. It's like, okay, yes, you're doing all these things because you feel like you have this need to do it. But why do you have that need to do it? And where did this standard come from that you've internalized to think that this is the only way to live a successful life, to live a fulfilling life? Because that is so sad to me when I think about how we waste our most precious resource, which is our time and our energy, on doing anything that isn't authentic to who we are.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yes, we live in a society where everybody is different. We live in a world where everyone is different. So there's infinite numbers of ways that people can look at the world, view the world, think, right?
Yep.
So obviously it's not possible to be able to see everybody's point of view all the time. But if you were, more purpose-driven and less ego-driven, I feel like it would be more of a way for you to stay centered and focus on your goal no matter who you're encountering. It's a way to like flex and personality flex and actually be able to meet others where they are if we weren't just like looking at everybody like they're supposed to live up to this one very constrained standard. And so this is how you get people who are depressed and anxious in a society because they're like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Everybody says this is what I'm supposed to do. I was conditioned to believe that this is what I'm supposed to do. And when I keep falling short of this mark, now something's wrong with me. Now I'm wrong. And then here comes the shame. And here comes the fear. And it's a cycle that feeds itself. And then people continue to do things out of this need to be validated as opposed to being like, you know what? This is what I'm here for. This is my purpose. This is my mission. And I genuinely don't care if people think I'm weird or if people think that I'm, too passionate and X, Y, and Z. I know what I'm supposed to do. And I know that there are people out there who would benefit from seeing me live in my authenticity. Hell, that's how I got my platform. Yeah. I didn't start my platform trying to be like anybody else. And to this day, I still don't try to be like anybody else on my platform. And a lot of people kind of just gravitated toward me. And a lot of the feedback that I was getting in the beginning and that I still get to this day is, oh my God, I thought I was the only person who had these kinds of experiences.
Exactly. And
I was like, yeah, you're not. Like, yes, we are all unique individuals, but like there's other people out there who have similar situations and they're looking for their tribe. They're looking for somebody to be able to put the words to what they were saying or put to motion what they've been feeling. And if you're afraid to be an individual, if you're afraid to stir the pot, if you're afraid to be a trailblazer, then you're going to stay trapped and confined to the boxes and the definitions that society has labeled as the very narrow and only way to be happy. Like this is what a happy life looks like. And for most people, that's not only not attainable, but actually isn't happiness to them. It's not soul fulfilling.
Right.
And it's sad to think about that. Most people spend their whole lives in service to a system that is not in service to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think of two things as you were saying that. Like, one was if you're, I can kind of tell where people fall when there's a clear solution to something and nobody brings it up. So you're like in a meeting or something like that, and I'm just sitting there like, we talking in circles. There is an obvious answer to this, but everybody seems to be afraid to say it. And then I'll be the bitch. And next thing you know, all of a sudden, everybody is, they can now speak freely. I'm like, yeah, because it was right in front of our face. Like, why are we talking around this? Like, so I can always tell where people are when they're afraid to just state the obvious sometimes, right? Because again, upholding the status quo, afraid of being shamed. I'm not afraid of being shamed. I'm not afraid of things right now. Like when it comes to my personal existence, I've done a lot of what I need to do that I can go back to doing what I need to do. Okay, I find, and I know my people now, right? So, and then I had another thought because I was as you were talking, I saw Handmaid's Tale in my mind, right?
Oh.
And just I don't know if you watched that at all, but you generally know what it's about, right?
Yeah.
And so the way that the culture that ended up oppressing all those women and doing all that fuck shit, it came to power in a similar way to what we're seeing right now, right? Unfortunately, which is crazy. But it made me think like, okay, those people are clearly narcissistic that created that environment. Yet they were able to create that environment against a culture a society that wasn't like that, right? Like, where did they get that from? Where did they get that? Like, this is what we want to do, and like, so I'm like, are they change makers in this way? Like, are we looking at a government that's change makers? And I wonder, like, I'm like, no, because at the end of the day, what they're doing. Again, they're trying to take these systems, these boxes, and make that how everyone has to exist.
Right.
And that's their motivator. Their motivator isn't individuality and everyone having their own identities. It's everybody having the identity that we say you should have.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. And those kinds of aggressors in that way that have this fragile, undeveloped egos, when they become aggressive like this, that's when you get oppression.
Absolutely. And it's also, they get aggressive as a response to their system failing. It's like the last-ditch efforts of a dying organism trying to grasp at any semblance of control. It is the response
to too much individualism, which is also why I've said in the past, like, the pendulum swung way too far to the left. And that's why we get these people like not having the grace. Like, so we want people to have a place in the world and be themselves and not feel attacked if they are trans, if they are gay. We're trying to get that to that place of center, and it went too far this way. So now this is the response, like you said, because too much individualism activates the shame in those people.
Right.
And now they're aggressively trying to get power, change legislation and laws, basically eradicate our whole constitution because we had too much individualism for them.
Yeah. And it literally is a threat to their system because their system only works if you have this blind compliance. And so that's why anybody who just naturally deviates from that gets like demonized and pathologized. And there's things like operant defiant disorder, which a lot of Black people have been diagnosed with, which literally is just, in a nutshell, it's like somebody who has an aversion to authority without any kind of understanding of why that person is an authority. So basically, any Black person who doesn't comply immediately or asks questions when they're younger, they get slapped with this label of ODD, blah, blah, blah. But, another thing that I thought of, and this is one of my favorite books. I've read this book like 3-4 times, and I like the movie. The movie is all right, but the book is better. The Giver.
Yes, yeah.
We're talking about like homogeneity or sameness. That's the first thing I thought of. It's Absolutely. Like they removed, well, firstly, they gave them injections once they reached around puberty and started having, basically wet dreams. Right. They didn't teach them about what, so basically they shut off the connection to the id, basically, in a lot of ways. Like your desires don't really matter. It's more like leaning into the super ego where everybody needs to be the same. This is what is dictating everything that you do, right? And so Jonas, who wound up being the new receiver of memory, he was the only person other than the giver who saw what life was like before sameness. Who was able to see outside of this construct that was created and perpetuated for him. And because of that, he could no longer, like, not only did he not, like, what was he not able to sit back and see this happen, but he wanted to educate everybody else and open their eyes to it. And he's like, look, like, we're not living, like, there's so much more out there. Like, this isn't life. And he was chased by the military and basically villainized once he woke up to, what was going on.
I need to read that. That's going to be my next book with Nola. Because the first book we read together was Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and that was like 4 years ago. And we haven't really done we read a book. I started trying to do The Giver, and he was like really disinterested. So
Biscuit.
Maybe I'll have him read it separate from me, because I think maybe he's at the age where he wants a little more autonomy, but we can like come together and talk about it or something like that.
Like a little mommy son book club.
Yeah, something like that. But I really do. I did enjoy that book a lot. And you're right, the movie wasn't that good. It was all right. But that's a great example. I wonder if is Divergent a similar idea?
Oh man, well, you know how I feel about Divergent. And actually, let's not go off into a tangent on that, because that could be a thing all the time.
The Giver is a great example of exactly what we're there. That, and even Handmaid's Tale, which was a book first too. Just like how these systems and societies get constructed by who, and again, like when the masculine needs to be serving the feminine energy. The feminine energy is the creation, it's the nurturing, it's the intuition, it's the connection to the divine, to the earth, like it's patience, is, and that masculine energy is more structured. It's there to serve that. You know what I mean? All the structures and the systems. You should be getting informed by the feminine energy, how to structure, not the other way around. We've imposed structure on creativity and freedom and intuition. And that's what we're seeing in the world right now, is that inverted way of doing things.
And it's like that with everything. I feel like everything is upside down. Those who are at the bottom of the totem pole hold the most power intrinsically. But this goes back to a conversation we had a while ago, where I was talking about, like, whenever you see a white man and a Black woman together, they are the most powerful couple
in both worlds,
because the white man sits at the top of hierarchy. And he has the most external validation, the most like foothold in this society, whereas a Black woman is at the bottom of the totem pole and holds more intrinsic understanding of who we are, what our purpose is. And I think a lot of times, if they are people with balanced egos, they come together and they create they create. They don't perpetuate.
And
they create
it's
something
incredibly
new.
powerful. Yeah.
It is. It can be.
That's why I need my white king. Come on.
Just send me a Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican, I like a Puerto Rican too, especially if they were a little more European influence, a little Spaniard.
Oh, no, that's the colonizer. That's the colonizer. Look, bitch, I'm about to be in Mexico.
Mexicans be cute, though. Ooh, Mexicans be cute to me these days. Ooh, baby. Anyway,
look, me and Poppy go together real bad, so like it's a problem.
But honestly, like, we probably should move on to the next thing after this. But
yeah.
I will say I have a lot of Euro or Caucasian friends. Mostly women, which is probably why we get each other, or they're non-binary or of the LGBTQ community. So, but so they probably a little. That's probably why we get each other despite them being white. But with that said, I don't believe like. I know we always say all this stuff eventually goes back to white supremacy, but just so y'all know, I don't believe every white person subscribes to that. I think there are a lot of white people that are very, very aware, especially nowadays. And even before woke was popular, like they were just very aware of the fuck shit. And even like not self-deprecating, because I don't like that either. I don't like these people that, I hate being a white person. Like, relax.
Like, don't be trying to garner some empathy or turn the center yourself in this conversation. Like,
exactly. Just like state like this is just the facts, and I believe that these facts are real because there's historical evidence to it. And I'm not embodying any shame because I didn't do those things. But I can acknowledge that my ancestors, probably my great grandma, my grandma might have did some fuck shit.
Meemaw and Peepaw.
Listen, and I can admit to that, and I can look at them sideways all day and be like, I'm not coming over for Thanksgiving. What is Thanksgiving? I'm gonna go over to my homegirl where they throw it down over there anyway.
I'm going where the flavor is. I'm going where they have more than salt, pepper, and mayonnaise.
Come on. So I truly believe like there is a very unique set of white folks, American white folks, even European white folks that get it truly, and they're walking in a developed ego where these truths don't define them.
Right, and that's a really good point because there again, shame is so crazy. Like,
yep, that's why they want to gaslight you to think racism isn't a thing anymore. It's like, no.
Exactly. It's like instead of being able to reconcile with the fact that even though you didn't personally create the system, you benefit from it whether you want to or not, just by being a white person. But a lot of the times people don't want to feel that shame. They internalize that statement saying, well, you're saying that I'm bad because I come from these people. And I'm like, no, I'm not saying that you're bad. I'm saying that you need to acknowledge that the things that got you to where you are were unfair. And
And maybe do something about it if you can.
Exactly.
In the smallest way possible. If you can employ people based off of actual merit and not identity politics, please do that. Get into, go be in HR where you can have that kind of power or effect in a company. You know what I mean? Like I've heard people say like I'm going back to school to be to learn such and such so I can go impact companies this way and make sure that there is equitable and stuff like that. I'm like, that's admirable. That's being productive and doing something. So yeah.
And having a purpose for why you're doing it.
Purpose, exact purpose driven. Look at this.
Full circle.
Wow, this was good. Okay, another good one.
Amen. So we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back with our hating and loving this week.
Jesus.
Welcome back, ladies and germs. So yes, we are now going into our hating and loving segments where we talk about things that we hate, things that we love, things that we hate to love, and things that we love to hate. And this week, I love to hate plus size fashion. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've been fat my whole life. Now, granted, there were times where I was smaller than I am now, and I'm getting back on my workout tip and my nutrition tip to get back there. But I still, even when I was smaller, I still wasn't a skinny bitch. But I've been fat like my whole life, right? And I remember in high school, there was really only like Lane Bryant. Now imagine you're like a 16-year-old girl and you want cute jeans, like, you know, like you see everybody else wearing, or you go in the store and you see something and you're like, oh man, I would like to wear that. Or, you know, a cute top, some shoes or whatnot. And then the only place you got to shop is fucking Lane Bryant. That was my experience. That, and then what was it, Fashion Bug, which I don't even think is like a thing anymore. You don't remember? You don't know Fashion Bug, Patty, because you were a fat bitch when we were little.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't even know if I've seen this anywhere.
Because you never had to shop at Fashion Bug. But like, yeah, like it was literally Fashion Bug or Lane Bryant. And then finally in like 06 or like 07 or something like that, Torrid came, right? Now, Torrid used to be under the same parent company as Hot Topic. So at first it was very much Hot Topic, just in fat bitch size. And so it was like a lot of like skulls and t-shirts and, you know, peplum was a real big fucking thing back then. Like, peplum, every shirt had peplum on it. But then they collaborated with Apple Bottom and Baby Fat. And so I was able to get a pair of Apple Bottom jeans that actually like came in my size and I felt cute. But even still, Torrid is very hit or miss.
Right.
So then I go through all of my 20s being a fat bitch. And then finally in my early 30s, I like lost a significant amount of weight. And then I decided that I was going to work at Torrid because I wanted a discount. I'm going to just keep it a buck. I wanted a discount. I had a full-time job at that time. I didn't really need the extra money. And most of the extra money went to me like getting a wardrobe. But even with doing that, like, it's still very hit or miss. Like there would be a couple pieces. I'm like, yes, this is cute as fuck. And this was at a time where I was small enough that I could go to any store and buy something. Like I would go to Old Navy a lot and get something, or even some of the stuff at Walmart and back when Target was okay to go to. Like I would just go in and be able to get shit off the rack because I could fit it. Now that I've put on pounds, and I'm not completely back to my old weight, thank God, but I put on a significant amount of weight, I'm back to only being able to shop at like plus size stores. And I'm in preparing for this trip that I'm about to go on. I was like, it's been like a good 2 years since I really bought any clothes because I've put on a lot of this weight in the last 2 years. Before that, I had a really big wardrobe, but I can't fit a lot of that shit, being completely honest.
We're getting back, though.
We getting back. Join the gym and everything, you know. But with that being said, I'm like, I don't really have that many like cute outfits to take with me to this trip. So I go to Torrid because I'm like, I need a couple bras. That's one thing I will say. Torrid got the game on lock. If you got some big ass titties, you don't even gotta be fat. You just gotta have big titties. That's the place to go because their bras are cute, like actual like Victoria's Secret cute. Cause that's another thing too. It's like you got big titties. It was like basically black, beige, and white.
Yeah, and I'm with you honestly, titty bitch stuff because like I'm probably the most voluptuous I've been outside of being pregnant. But I actually I feel like I fill out pretty well. But I'm definitely a thicker bitch. I'm a thick bitch. I'm a fat bitch, but I'm a thick bitch. But the titties, I've always had like D cups, and I will agree with you on that. I might have to try out Tori on this underwear stuff because it really don't be working for like if you got any kind of ass, even like nothing.
Yeah. Torrid, I will say Torrid, like, is the only store that gives us lingerie and underwear and shoes that are cute and fit wider feet. But the clothes are still very hit or miss. It'll be like, okay, yeah, you can get your jeans here. Or if you work in an office, you can get like slacks and tops and stuff. That's like easy basics. They got that shit at Lane Bryant though. But then if you're somebody who just like wants to express themselves,
right,
it's almost like they can't think outside of a box. It's like, okay, well, let's throw this ugly ass floral pattern on a t-shirt, and it's like,
wow,
who is really trying to wear this?
Yeah,
and like.
Who's on their team? Like, why are there no fashionistas that are big girls? There's a lot of big girls that are fashionistas that should be like, what's preventing them from being more fashion forward for the
right? And the cat, I will say, Torrid is the best out of all of them because, like, look, you know, I used to wear the leather jacket and the legging boot combo. Got the off from Torrid. The cute hats and little dresses
and the
definitely
belts.
The belts, exactly. But when it came to like clothes, it's just very hit or miss. Like I got a couple things for my trip from there, but they were staples. It was basics: a white button up, some linen pants that are really fucking cute. I can't wait to show you this outfit because bitch, I'm gonna look. But you know what I mean? Like, it's because I could find it there. It was a basic, separate. I got a cute ass bathing suit, though.
Yeah, you did show me the picture, which I can't wait to see how that's given.
I felt good in it. I felt so cute and comfortable. I'm like, wow.
And you said Torrid was the sister store of Hot Topic, right?
Not anymore, but that's how they started, right? And I feel like there's a lot of things that they held over. Like, instead of it being skulls and crossbones, it's now like, okay, you got a bunch of graphic t-shirts. Like all we want to wear is t-shirts and like big flowy tops. You know what I mean? Like it's not a lot of like, so if we're talking about like keeping up with current trends,
right? It's
like they feel like they can't translate it. And it's not just Torrid. Again, Torrid is the best out of all of them, but like you see Lane Bryant and then even other stores that go up to like a 2 or 3X, like, JCPenney or these other department stores and stuff like that. The section for plus size clothes is small, ironically. And a lot of the options aren't anywhere near like the options you would get for straight, quote unquote, straight size people. And it's like, just because y'all don't want to see big people and you want us to be covered up, don't mean that we are ashamed of how we look.
And everybody don't feel like they want y'all covered up. There's a lot of niggas that's like, what's up? Where are the thighs? Right.
I have somebody. I'm going to tell you this full story off air, but okay. I'll just say this. Somebody had said about me, I'll eat that 100-pound pussy. That was a direct quote.
Don't use this in the clip. Don't use
this
in your advertisement.
Because I'm ridiculous. But no, that shit was so funny. That made my jaw drop. That made my jaw drop. I was like, okay. But anyway, I say to say, yes, some of us are fat and not ashamed and want to look cute. And want to feel like we can express ourselves with how we look and not have to become fucking seamstresses.
Right.
To be able to make that thing. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just want to be able to go into a store. And then also with Torrid having the best options, it's expensive as fuck. Like, why is a fucking like kimono, like little throw thing $69?
That's crazy. That's crazy. I would
make one of them for less.
About that in my size and set like, what the fuck is this?
Of course.
What is
because this? Right? Because when you're at Walmart and I saw something similar, it was like $19.
In your size?
No, it was like a one size fits all. So I don't know if it would fit my
really
size.
True though? I mean, a kimono I can kind of see because you could do oversized if you're smaller.
Yeah, but
was it really one size fit all though for real?
That's what I'm saying. Like one size fits most, I should say. But it advertises itself as one size fits all. But anyway, it's similar enough to the one that was at Torrid for like $69.99.
Yeah. So like let's say that one at Walmart was like if they wanted to do like a bigger size, maybe it could be $25 or something like that.
But here's the thing. It don't even really need to be. This goes back to capitalism and greed. Most things, even just to size it up a little bit, you're not using that much more fabric that you need to like charge even more. Yeah. That's actually why on my website, when like where I sell like, you know, my merch, everything is the same price no matter what size you get.
Yes, it is.
Even though everything isn't the same price for me. So somebody who gets a bigger size, they're paying the same price as somebody who is getting a smaller size, but I make less money. And I did that on purpose because I want people to be able to get their like size and not feel like ashamed that they got to get a 3 or 4 or a 5X. Because my t-shirts go up to like a 5X. So it's like, the way the system that I use for it, if it is a larger size, they charge more. But I'm like, nope, no matter what size you choose, it's going to be the same price because to me, it's like you already got to pay fat taxes all the time, right? For real, if I was bigger, I would be forced to buy a second plane seat or upgrade to like business or first class because I couldn't fit in a regular seat, right? Yeah. And I know somebody who had to do that. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's crazy.
And the irony is that at least in our Western society, like our food industry, we cater to people being overweight. And then we want to punish them too.
I wouldn't even say Western. I would say American because when you go outside of the country, even if you're in like Western
Canada
Europe, exactly, because I haven't been to Canada yet, and I'm just now about to go to Mexico for the first time. But I've been to Europe twice, and I've been to several countries in Europe. Their food is like the quality of the food is better, like it just is, and it's not as expensive. Like I've been to a grocery store in Paris, I've been to a grocery store in Barcelona. And I went, so those two places are where I actually went grocery shopping. Yeah. And I just remember I'm like, wow, you got like fresh bread for like 75 cents or so, less than €1. Just like fresher selections, less chemicals. Yeah. Like a lot of our food is straight up fucking big. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, where is obesity really even a problem outside of America? Like prevalent like that?
There's quite a few places. We're not the only place, but for a country of our size and a country of our wealth,
right? It don't make sense.
Exactly. Yeah,
but maybe it does because maybe like being poorer means you don't eat as much. I don't know.
But not even just that, because like our culture in a lot of ways, and this done like took us aside to the left, but everything comes back to it. Our country, our culture, our society in a lot of ways is not set up for our well-being or our benefit. Yeah. It is set up to keep you very separate. Like when you go to a lot of these like other countries, like in Europe, you don't always need to have a rental car. If you are good with like understanding public transportation, you can get around on public transportation because a lot of this shit is like accessible. And a lot of the places where you need to go, you can get there on reliable, safe, clean public transportation. We are a very car-reliant country. If you don't have a car, unless you live in a big city, and then in the center, basically, of that big city, then you need a car.
Because not even LA. LA, for it to be such a major city in our country, horrible public transportation.
Oh, absolutely. And then that's why the traffic be terrible. Terrible. I remember first time
I got to take helicopters and then die. Anyway, sorry. Okay, that got morbid. But
but it's true though. It's like
it's the fact that if it wasn't for that, he probably wouldn't have been in that helicopter.
Could have just driven somewhere or taken a train or something. I don't know, but let's not with that. But like that. But to bring it back around, it's like there's so many things in our society that are set up to profit industries and not profit us. So if we're car reliant, that means car manufacturers are making money. The people who sell the parts to the car manufacturers are making money. Car dealerships, their maintenance, gas, you're selling more gas, which means they're digging more oil and shit like that. And it keeps you relying on that. You got to have a certain job to keep the car. Yep. And then you got to have a car to get the job a lot of the times. It's like, it keeps you shackled, just like having our health insurance tied to employment. That's another thing that keeps a lot of people from being able to
Medicaid. So now you have to be employed to have insurance.
Right. Yeah. It's
as if corporate America isn't bad enough. Like they don't want to have to supply that. They already funny acting as fuck because they have to supply so many needs to people.
Exactly. And it comes out in different ways because like the employer will match a certain percentage, but you're still paying a little bit out of each of your check toward that too, on top of your copay, on top of deductibles, like on top of the premium. Like it's literally tax on tax on tax. Motherfuckers rioted over a lot less. You want to talk about a tax on tea, and they threw that shit in the Boston Tea Harbor. No taxation without representation. We get taxed on taxes.
Wow.
Without actually being represented. Like, think about this. A business usually gets taxed on the things that they purchase or import for their business. So then they tax the people who buy it.
Wow.
And so that they can exactly.
This is crazy.
And we pay income taxes.
Yeah.
We pay into Social Security, which they're trying to gut. We pay all these things, and driving on a toll road, that's a tax.
Right.
But you already get tax dollars from the state. Now you're getting to maintain these public roads, and then you're raising the price on the toll. So you can make a profit?
And for what? Like, are you not making enough profit? And if you're saying it's inflation, well, who caused that? Y'all niggas. It's how we get back here off of
I know, right? Because because we were talking about how our society doesn't promote health in a lot of different ways, and the system, it all comes back to the same thing. This is going to be a theme. It literally all comes back to the same thing. All of our fucking problems are related to a very quick. This is the theme. It's literally all connected. But going back to it, I don't fucking like that they think all we want to... it's this one lady, and I got to send you the video, and then I'm going to throw it to you. It's like a white lady who's a comedian. She's a big girl, and she does these skits where she goes to these... plus size stores or stores that have a plus size section, and she'll try on different things and basically make fun of it by coming up with a character for it. And so this was a thing I want to say maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more, where it was something called the cold shoulder, where it would be a sweater or a shirt with just a little patch on the shoulder exposed.
Okay.
And she's like, I'm a harlot who only wants to expose one part of my shoulder because it might be cold in here. It's why is it she's like, because I'm so ashamed of my arms that all you can see is a little bit of my shoulder. It's you know what y'all think we should be covered up. And so you're designing these things that are shapeless, like fucking circus tents.
Wow.
And without any kind of fashion or intention behind it for the most part, because it's just be lucky that you have something to cover your grotesque fucking body with. And it doesn't matter if you look cute. If you want cute clothes, you need to lose weight. In a society that doesn't have universal health care, people live in food deserts. They can't walk anywhere because they live 20 minutes from their closest fucking Walmart, which is their only grocery store, not a fruit stand or a produce market in sight.
Yeah.
And then you want to shame people into not being able to find clothes to fit them if they're bigger than like an extra large. Like, eat my fucking ass. I don't care. It's possible to make clothes that aren't just like, look at me. I don't actually want to be seen.
So what do you think? Do you think you would ever want to get into the boardrooms of these companies and make some like would you even want to, or do you think it's possible for a bigger girl that's a fashionista to get in there and change the shit? Like, there's a show that Cuzzy tried to get me to get into. I couldn't get into it just because the writing wasn't for me. But it's like a bigger comedian woman. She's like lighter complexion, big hair. She has some type of TV show, and it was about
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and she's like a stylist in New York, and it's like about her love life, like a kind of a stereotypical synopsis, but it's from the angle of her being a plus size stylist person. And I watched like the first 2 episodes of it, and I thought, and there were a couple moments where she was she had to style like some type of supermodel chick, but the supermodel was older and, bigger, not plus size, but just like, older.
Like Tyra Banks, basically.
Yeah, like, and so the bitch wanted to act like she was still a size 2, whatever the fuck, and the girl was like, okay, sure. And she went
with a 1 in front of it?
Yeah, right. So homegirl went in like without telling her the size she got. I think she got something custom made, maybe, I'm not sure, but she put her in a fit that was her size, and she loved it, and da 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 da. And so I just bring that up because, like, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's like, okay, well, we see a problem, like, let's change it. Let's find a way to change it.
Right, but then so many people are just like, well, no, it shouldn't be a problem, so we're not going to address it. And it's like, and again, it takes somebody breaking the mold, because you know what that just reminded me of? Rihanna with Fenty Beauty. Before Fenty Beauty, there was very little, very limited representation, shade range representation in makeup.
Able-bodied, like, because she'll have people with like their like
disabilities, exactly. Right, so body positivity all over, but in particular, we're talking about like she started a trend because these other makeup companies were put on notice that all of y'all doing the same thing over and over again and sticking to this narrative that, in order to be profitable, we have to only have a certain target audience and cater to them, has kept you out of a very lucrative market of people across the shade spectrum who have been looking for quality products that actually match their skin tone.
Period.
And this is how she became a billionaire. It wasn't off of her music.
Purpose driven, though. That's that purpose. She said, y'all got that album in 2016, and now I'm in my purpose.
I'm in my purpose and in my purse. Because that bitch pockets are deep. and that's from being a change maker. Even with her like Savage by Fenty, it's size inclusive.
Very much so, yeah.
And that's something that proves that you can make the same shit for bigger bodies that you do for smaller bodies. It's like it's not impossible.
Model too. It wasn't like, you just see it on the website. No, they were in her Fenty, like, and we would look forward to that, like, she got a fashion show coming out. We gotta watch it. And the big people be walking like, what?
Like, and so,
and probably your man is looking at that big bitch.
He want all the stomach rolls. He want all the stomach rolls, all the back fat. But yeah, like. That's just a nice little rant about how I love to hate on plus size fashion. It's ridiculous, and people are lazy and uninventive, and they're missing out on a bag because, again, Torrid is price gouging the fuck out of their clothes because they know they can, because they know that they got basically a monopoly. Yeah, they got a monopoly when it comes to actually providing shoes, underwear, accessories that are excellent, but then their clothes are just like, ooh, every once in a while they hit.
It don't seem hard to do. Like, because I'm someone that's like, even if you are skinny or I guess like, you know, under a certain weight, I don't want to see all that on you either. Some of these skinny bitches ain't that cute. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't falling in the right places for you.
Right.
Even though you might be a certain weight, it ain't cute. And like a lot of the silhouettes, I feel like can still look great on bigger bodies. Like This dress I got on now, you can see it. But like something like this would be just fine on all body types. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It comes up here. I'm not wearing a bra right now, but you could. Like a razor, you could wear like a racer back or something like that. Like the color's cute, it's comfortable. Like it's a shame to think that something as simple as this couldn't come in all sizes.
Side note, is that the dress you wore the second day of Afro Punk when we went in 2019?
I think so, probably. Because I have a lot of shit that I'll still be wearing from years ago.
No, but it looks like I'm thinking about the pictures we took in Brooklyn.
Yeah, this was the one. Yeah, second day.
Okay,
I still got the first look too, bitch. I still got all. I don't think I have those shoes though, but I still have the socks. I have that shirt. I have the shorts.
Okay.
Yes, but you know, very Michelle Obama of me. No, but I'm in full agreement. Yes, and thanks for bringing up Fenty because I think that's a great example of what can be done. You know, so if y'all listen to this and you into fashion and you know how to change the system on that one, please.
There's a market. There's a market out there. It's a bunch of us fat bitches who want to look cute.
And y'all got money. Y'all out here working. Like, you know, y'all out here got job CEOs and stuff like. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think mine will be pretty short because I think we touched on a lot of this earlier and in probably other episodes as well. But just kind of jumping off of my love to hate from last episode, which was narcissism as, I guess, a disorder or as a general personality type. Yeah, I still hate that vehemently. But I think I hate it even more now because since recording the last episode, someone galvanized me to humanize those who suffer from narcissism as their personality, as their default personality. So again, like there's the disorder. I think we need to make a distinction too. There's the disorder, and there's also this particular person I'm going to bring up. They say that they are cluster B. You could probably specify what that is more. So there's like the disorder where it's probably a bunch of other shit going on. They are like highly narcissistic. Like that is it's very hard for them to change if at all. Even though this person says they're aware that they are this, but they're not necessarily changing. It's just they're aware, which is probably they're suffering more because of it, honestly.
Yeah, because ignorance is bliss. If you know this is going on, yikes.
Ignorance is definitely bliss. And now they're like going back and seeing how they've harmed people in the past, and it's just like they're always fucking stressed. It's like there's a bit of gratification I get from watching this person, but also a deep sadness though too, because I'm just like, damn, like to think that that's their reality. It's fucked up. But I hate to love narcissists themselves or folks that lean into who tend to possess
have narcissistic behavior
tendencies, right? Yeah, because it's unconscious to them. I think people who have been victimized by their behavior believe that they're conscious of it. And they actually really aren't, from my understanding, especially like hearing how people who have this disorder or have these tendencies, they're like, we're not aware we're even doing it. It's really just like autopilot for them. And
so like, just as a caveat, they are making conscious decisions to do certain actions, but they are unconscious to the motivation behind why they're doing those actions. Because I want to make that clear, because it's like, this isn't to absolve them of any like responsibility or accountability. It just explains the why behind the what, the motivation behind what makes them act the way that they do.
Right. And they're under the assumption that everybody does this. Like you were saying earlier, like they think everybody thinks this way, you know, like it's the societal norm. And so they also, while they have a conscious understanding, like I am sort of like, I am talking about you behind your back to my coworkers or to the family members. Like they do know they're doing that, but they think that that's what everybody does anyway. You know what I mean? They don't really see it as wrong because everybody does it to them. Which to their credit, kind of. I mean,
in our society,
they're like probably about 70% right about that. You know what I mean? Maybe more. But that's why, again, like, just because something is, how to put it?
Because the behavior is normalized, it doesn't mean that it's actually normal or
that it's moral. Being normal doesn't make it moral.
Right. Because it's normal for niggas to cheat. But unless you got an explicitly open relationship, it's not moral.
It's not moral. So that's where that's the problem that they have, because again, these sorts of personality types are the kinds of people that have created our society ultimately because of how they are. They have the need. They're driven by ego, and so they set up the world to cater to them. Right.
Right.
And so now it's like, well, everybody does blah 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 blah. So now they can justify their behavior because it's so normal. Right. But the shit is trash. And honestly, most people aren't explicitly narcissistic either. Like they're usually just like compliant and, unable to really like stand up for themselves. They've been like conditioned by the system. So like I said, I think it's maybe like 50% of the people, maybe less than 50% of people really think like them really. Most people have been conditioned by our societal norms to not want to buck up against it.
Right.
And you know what I mean? So I feel bad for them. There's a specific person that I started following when I went down this rabbit hole of humanizing narcissists. And they go by Nameless Narcissist. And I really feel like I do applaud them, although my petty prevents me from liking any videos because I don't want to validate them. But I'm giving them a huge shout out now from like, I don't know how the 10 people who listen to us, but for now, eventually it might be more. But I do encourage you to follow him because he has a lot of videos where he is really like, as he's talking, he starts to like come to these realizations. Did you watch any of the ones I sent you?
No, you sent me one. I haven't gotten to it yet. Sorry.
You watch it whenever, because honestly, the energy is a lot. You might need to like detox yourself because it's really like the energy is like, wow, this shit is dark to some extent, honestly.
Okay.
Because he'll start talking about a subject. Like one of them was like, why a narcissist discards, or what they're thinking when they discard you or something like that. He started talking about that topic, and then he just eventually got to a place where he's like, damn, did I? And he just like, you can just kind of see the internal processes of a narcissist. Right. It is wild. And like, he talks about black and white thinking. He talks about, or like binary thinking, how that's literally how they think. It's just,
right.
I win or I don't win.
There's no in between.
They don't see, there's no nuance. There's no like, he's like, I'm literally confused as to like how people are saying it. Like they don't believe you when you say you can feel someone else's pain, or they don't believe you. This man was talking about going to funerals and not understanding why people were sad.
And that's when you told me that, I'm like, are you sure he's not
a psychopath? He's cluster B, he said.
Cluster B, the clusters are like groups of disorders. So cluster B is like disorders that they're mental health conditions that are kind of like characterized by having erratic behavior, emotional, dramatic, impulsive, self-destructive. So NPD falls under that narcissistic personality disorder. Antisocial personality disorder.
Right.
BPD, which is borderline personality disorder. They all fall under cluster B. So if he's a narcissist, if he's diagnosed as an NPD, as a narcissist, then that makes him cluster B. It's just like how neurodivergent is an umbrella term. I'm autistic and ADHD, but that makes me neurodivergent.
Right. Okay. Well, then there it is. I mean, I guess. Yeah. It's a very interesting, but the one thing that made me, the one thing that struck me that he did mention, he was like, when he was officially diagnosed, and there's been some people I've followed a little bit that they were officially, well, they didn't go on this journey because they were officially diagnosed. They were eventually diagnosed, but like just someone they just kept getting called a narcissist by people. And they were like, well, what the fuck is that? Like, everybody calling me that. And so one thing that he mentioned was like, when he got diagnosed, and then you're like, well, what is a narcissist? You look it up, and then all you see are the stories of the victims, right?
Right.
All you get is like, they're a fucking monster, and they this, that, and you're like seeing all these words, and they triangulated me, they gaslit me, they put it, and you're just like, well, what is even that? I didn't know that was a name for what I did, And he's like, I wanted to start because I know y'all probably thinking I'm a narcissist. I probably just want attention. And he's like, I probably do. Like it. Boom. Like, please like my video or whatever. But he's like, at the same time, like, I'm a human being, and I get called this thing, and everything on the internet is just calling me a monster. And it's like, this is just who I've always been.
Right.
I never realized I was hurting people, because I hurt them because I felt like they were hurting me. Because everything about my world is about me.
Right.
So, so if I interpret them as it's very Joe Goldberg, like from You.
I've never watched You.
Bro, not that you need to, but even the actor, you know Pim Badgley.
I love Pim Badgley.
Yeah, he's great. You really should watch it. The show is actually kind of good. But he was getting so mad at how like bitches was in love with Joe. He's like, y'all don't see that he's a psychopath? What is wrong with y'all? This is not sexy or whatever. But it's like, this is, again, his character was very charming and charismatic, and that's how he would get these bitches, and then like kill them. And he would hear the internal process of how he gets to that place of feeling like this bitch needs to die. And literally, like, I see this in this real life human being right here. He didn't kill nobody, literally, but he killed their soul, their spirit, their psyche. He's killed them in other ways. And it's a similar process. How when this guy is talking through how he fucked his best friend's girlfriend and justifying it, or how he did certain exes wrong, and it's just like it sounds like Joe Goldberg, like, this person is the best person. This is my one. This is my person. And then that person does something as an individual you're deviating from the character I made you. You're deviating from who you are in my story. And so somehow that justifies me killing you. And it's just this dramatized representation of how they actually think.
Right. Yeah, and that's the discarding part. It's like, right. So I've love bombed you because I've idealized you. I've projected onto you the things that like I wanted to see out of you. And this is a lot of the reason why narcissists and autistic and even ADHDers are like magnets, because a lot of us we project onto other people our intentions, and a lot of the times, especially if you're autistic, and again, we're not a monolith, but this is just a commonality, are very literal. And so we're saying these things and we're meaning them, and then the narcissist is mirroring it back to us, but they don't mean it. Right. And from what you're saying, in their mind, they think that you're love bombing them back But in reality, you genuinely are this person who's looking at them as like, hey, this is a new person, and I'm info dumping on them. They're info dumping on me.
What's different about you than me?
Exactly. And so they use that information to like love bomb you, and then they think, okay, yay, we're playing the same game, we're on the same page, and then as soon as you go off script, they're like, you're not the character that I wanted you to be. You're not playing the role that I wrote for you. And now you're no longer serving me. So I got to get rid of you.
I like to devalue you first. First to you. That's the most insidious part. They start to devalue you to you.
Right.
Because I get the whole devaluing a person to other people, like talking about them saying, oh, you know, she did it.
Right.
I get that because even regular bitches do that. But it's how they get into your own head and make you question your own.
Since they have to degrade your sense of self and make it dependent on them because they're projecting how they don't have a sense of self and it's completely predicated on other people.
They're forming your identity for you, right? The way that they have to have other people inform theirs.
Yeah.
But then they come across some bitches that are fully formed and they get their shit rocked. So yeah, and that really fucks them up too. Ooh,
exactly, and they make it like their mission to like figure you out because they're like, I need to like everything about them challenges my belief in reality or what my reality is. And so I gotta get them. I gotta break them. I have to bring them down to my level. And the what fucks them up the most, and you've learned this over time, is indifference. The opposite of love is not hate. Like they are literally two sides of the same coin. Whatever you're giving your energy to is what's going to grow. So if you're feeding energy into love, the love is going to grow. If you're feeding energy into hate, the hate is going to grow.
Period.
If you're starving it of any attention in either way, if you're being indifferent, that is the biggest like
atomic bomb, honey.
Exactly. That's a big cosmic middle finger.
Because they already feel like they don't exist. Because they don't. They don't have an identity. They have not formed a healthy ego. And so they almost don't exist unless outside of them validates their existence.
And which is also why I don't care if people love them or hate them as long as they're getting attention.
Something, right.
Yes. Right. Especially like, because I just Googled real quick to get a better textbook. Did you hear that, cat?
No.
Okay. She be like, that bitch be meowing on time every fucking movie. I'm like, and it don't just be like a little, like, I'm like, bitch, shut up. But anyway, so narcissistic personality disorder in a nutshell is defined by a grandiose sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. So, yeah. That just kind of like puts a little button on.
Yeah, those are the telltale signs. Because a lot of the things you'll find on YouTube is like how to spot a narcissist, and it's one of those things that were like you really can't tell right away unless you experience it like I have. Because at this point, if somebody is quote unquote charming and charismatic, red flags for me,
right?
Immediately. But there's certain things you can ask them and talk like, you know, they really won't have, they can't describe themselves or anybody else with any real like nuanced detail. Like they don't know how to form what a personality is.
Right.
And they'll say like very generic things about themselves even.
Right.
You can just tell it's just very generic with them. Because they're just going off a script. What do other people say? What are good qualities that people say? Because they fucking have no idea. Right. They have no idea.
Crazy. So much thinking.
God, this little.
You don't know much thinking.
The fact that the cat is letting you do that says a lot. Like
I know she loves me. She loves me. Yeah, you might love me.
I can't wait to meet her.
I
love these little dogs I've been watching the last couple of days. I'm supposed to be watching more days, but they're really cute. They remind me of Judah and Glory.
Yeah. All right, now shut up. She just be liking some attention.
But yeah, like, so, like asking them about like their personality, describe who you are. Describe who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They can barely describe other people either. It's very weird. Or like, but also they feel entitled as well. Like because a lot, like because if you study narcissism at all, you'll hear things like covert, vulnerable, grandiose, whatever, overt, malignant. And also malignant, right? Which, oh, Jesus, that's a biggie. But they all kind of fluctuate between the two, because the thing is that, and Dr. Ramani, I've mentioned her before, she really breaks this down, where like basically we think of narcissists as the more overt, grandiose, meaning like, because overt versus covert just means what you see overt versus what you don't see covert. And so we see these like overtly grandiose narcissists and think like that's the easy, like you can just see that they're just like, I'm the greatest and everything I do is great and everyone should love me and blah, blah, blah. Like, and so we clearly see that that's a narcissist. But what the overt grandiose narcissist is covertly doing is their vulnerability. They are also covertly vulnerable. Yes. So when you don't know them very well, you don't always see the vulnerable part. And so like you think about somebody like our president, he's usually labeled malignant, really. Oh yeah. You can define that for us if you can, but I feel like a lot of people probably would label him overtly grandiose, right? Because you clearly see where he thinks he's better than everybody. But covertly, I bet you that motherfucker is hella insecure. And they're all insecure. Oh, yeah. At the end of the day, yes. At the end of the day. But what the tricky ones are the motherfucking covert vulnerable ones. So overt vulnerable ones, because they are overtly vulnerable. So they more so represent themselves in a like, woe is me kind of way. Like that's a covert narcissist. They're getting their validation by people trying to uplift them, and they keep playing I'm the victim. And then you got so many people who I would say nobody, but most people aren't going to be like, yeah, you are trash. Most people are going to be like, oh, don't talk about yourself like that. You're so great. Yeah, and you're feeding into their need for admiration and all that good shit. So yeah, covert narcissists are the worst, because if you are somebody who has a desire to help, and you do see the good in people, I think covert narcissists actually are the ones who they're the most ensnare autistic and hyper empathetic people, because they play on your need to, or your human desire to make other people feel comfortable, and they use that in a way to help, build up their own sense of self by getting this praise. And go back to what we were saying earlier, they need external validation no matter what, whether it's good or negative. Like, this is why there are people who thrive off of negative energy, because at the very least they're getting some attention. Right. They'll even make up illnesses. Like, think about what Munchausen syndrome and stuff. Like, those bitches are fucking anybody. Like, I'm gonna try to keep it. I wonder sometimes when people be like, oh, I went through this and this illness, and I'd be like, where are your doctors? I need proof. I don't believe shit now. She said, fuck HIPAA. Where's that motherfucking medical history? Where the doctor's note that said you did all that happened to you? But the way Dr. Ramani describes it is that it's actually overt vulnerable narcissists. They're covertly grandiose, because at the end of the day, what you see is the vulnerability. That's what they use to get the attention, right? Overtly. But what you don't see is how they believe they're entitled to all the shit. That grandiose, like, so again, that both sides teeter between the two. Just one is overtly away, and the other, and they're covertly the other way. Right. So type of thing. So these overtly vulnerable narcissists that use the like, let me get the sympathy to get the attention. They're the worst, because like no one's, like you said, like no one's going to like try to avoid them, because they're not gross like like a really grandiose narcissist. Or even you'll have the ones, and that's I think this is part of the reason why I didn't watch that video just yet, because we were talking about that other guy, the black guy with the locks, who was like, yeah. And for me, I feel like I can't take that, like his videos or videos like that
seriously, like I can't take it with a grain of salt because at the end of the day, they are still like diagnosed narcissists. And even if they're doing it under the guise of, well, I just want to tell people how we think, so that they can learn, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's still feeding into their constant craving for attention and praise from others. Because you'll have somebody, and I'm not going to say names, but you might get it through context. This one person, they, and I don't know how they are now, but they like use women like tools, right? Literally, they remind me a little bit like Barney from How I Met Your Mother, where it's just like, I'll fuck a different bitch every day type thing. Sometimes without protection, Jesus Christ. Type shit. And at one point when they were in a very on again, off again situation with another friend, they got called out for their behavior, and they were just like, yeah, I'm a fucking narcissist. I know it. And basically use that as a way to kind of like neutralize anytime the other person would bring up like, why are you doing this? And he was like, I'm a fucking narcissist. Like, I can't really, basically like using that, like that self-awareness as an excuse. It's like, well, this is who I am. Like, you clearly don't love me for me, or you clearly can't be with me for me because I know I'm a narcissist. And it's like, well, you're not doing anything to address it. But every time I bring it up, can they really? But every time you bring, the person brought it up to him, it was like, well, I don't have to change this because this is who I am. And you said this is who I am. So, like, why are you expecting anything different? I mean,
there's a part of me that kind of agrees with that. Like, once you know who a person is, it's your responsibility to believe them. It is. It really, like, because that's where I'm at this point in time. Like, you can't be responsible for what you don't know. But once you see it and they're even telling you, that's your problem. Now you have to make a choice to then interact with them accordingly.
Right.
And so to some extent, they're right. And like, and I think hearing this particular person is very different from the Locks guy. I'm going to just tell you that because I agree with you. This guy feels way more genuine as much as he can be.
I take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah. And but I feel like there's still something very performative about Locks guy that I don't get from this guy. I have to say that. But also I'm trying to say again, it's like him being out here in the internet, in the atmosphere is important because you get to see like what is their internal processes, like how is it that they can, what do they think? And if you've come across someone who is at least self-aware at the least, if you choose to engage with them, or I guess sometimes you maybe don't have a choice, like if it's a parent or if it's you got to keep a job or something. But once you're made aware of it, it is then your responsibility to act accordingly, educate yourself, and know how to go about it. And it's not easy, but it is simpler than people think. Because
that's what I was about.
Indifference is it. Don't give them no emotion.
But that's what I was about to say. But a lot of people aren't necessarily at the point where they can't be reactive to those kinds of things, because a lot of gaslighting goes into that too. Because it's like, yeah, I already told you that I'm a narcissist. How dare you have a problem with me? As opposed to being like, because there's no accountability or self-reflection with a narcissistic person.
Right.
And so if you are somebody who maybe, say they were a partner, and you got this love bombing that you're trying to reconcile with now being devalued and discarded, it's hard for people to just be like, oh, well, somebody just told me they're a narcissist. It's not, you can't flip the switch and just be like, I know you know.
Exactly. I know. Like, you know what it is, though? That's when it's your job to fully develop your own ego. that whole self-love thing people like to say all the time, it sounds so generic because it kind of is. It's more than just self-love. It's more than bubble baths and massages. It is digging deep into your own shit, finding where you are relying on others to validate you, because that's their end. They look at you and think you think how they think, which they need external validation. So they look at you and think, well, I'm just going to form their identity for them the way I get mine formed. And I'm going to form it the way I want it for my world that I've created.
Right.
But what really makes you like bulletproof to that is being self-assured about who you are. They cannot gaslight you when you're like that. They cannot. Like, because people have tried to do that to me. And because I've done the work, impenetrable. Bitch, you cannot tell me I said or thought or did it. No, ma'am. You learn how to keep record of everything. You learn how to communicate with these people. You don't talk to them one-on-one. All you learn these things. And it's unfortunate, but the thing is that you have to approach every relationship, every new relationship, you have to approach this way. And then give it about a year or two. And if this person's been consistent and you have, then maybe you can let a little bit of it. But that's my method now. Like, it's like, I'm coming in here with like, we keeping record of shit. I'm not talking to you one-on-one. I'm seeing how you talk about other people. That type of shit. Like, are you trying to paint a picture of somebody to me?
Right.
Without me, like I'm going to form my own opinion about these, you know what I mean? Like, so little things like that. But again, I've had the privilege, and I'm calling it a privilege at this point, to have these experiences and to be, for the universe to expose and reveal to me the truth. And honestly, thank God for people like him. Even Locks, even Dreadlock guy, as much as I'm not into him, some people might resonate with that better. But this guy, I'm telling you, watch the ones I sent you.
Okay.
It's enlightening. And like I said, when he specifically brought up the point of like, he went and tried to figure out what narcissism was and came across all this just like, and his shame was activated because everything was so negative. And he really opened my eyes a little bit to that, honestly. So, he has hella flaws, clearly, but at least he made that point. And it like, and I am more empathic than I've given myself credit of being in the past. And it could be that I've gone through all this shit, which has made me more empathic, to be honest. So yeah. I mean, again, like it's a hate to love, because I love their humanity, and I just hate, unfortunately, the personality type that they have that just damages so many people's lives when we're not aware of it.
Right.
Yeah.
No notes. I completely agree. And this is like, you guys will probably see like a lot of themes we tend to talk about. They kind of like all circle back to this kind of like central idea. And that wasn't really the goal from the onset, but it's just kind of like how I call it spiderweb thinking. Everything is connected. It may be a string all the way out here, but you can follow it back to the center of that web.
Yep.
And a lot of the things that we talk about, especially if it's something that is a detriment or a harm to society, is most likely going to circle back to the narcissistic structure that is the lie of white supremacy and all of the children of white supremacy that has, shaped our society.
It's truly an epidemic. We've gone through a pandemic, but I think this narcissism and the white supremacy of it all is really the epidemic that as a human race we are. I don't know if it's struggling with, or I don't know what the word is, but it's just it's
suffering from.
Yeah, it's an infestation. It's like it's insidiously just like everywhere. Yeah.
Gotta root it out. Gotta get it out by the root.
For real. Oof.
Oh, big sister.
But yeah, so that's my love to hate or hate to love right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was, yes, it definitely did circle back to a lot of stuff that we were talking about, and I completely agree. So, yeah, that was our hating and loving for this week. Before we go, is there anything that you want to talk about? Anything coming up?
Honestly, no. I mean, no, not really. I mean, where I personally work right now is more of a local thing, and yeah. I mean, work is just it's going well, so I wouldn't need to promote too much there. I'll let y'all know. Maybe coming up for sure. Yeah, for sure. In my personal and my career life, there may be some things to promote pretty soon.
You heard. Alrighty, and yeah, so for me, I'm just excited for my birthday and my birthday trip. Get some more passport stamps, and so next week there will not be a show because I'm not doing this while I'm on vacation. But yeah, when we come back, I'll probably have a little update on, my adventure. And yeah, again, I'm super excited to check off two more countries and get a little bit more ink on this passport.
Word.
Just join us, exactly. Just join us. Tune back in for another chat with Big Sister when we hold up and call each other. All right, Big Sister, it's always good talking to you.
Yes. All right now. Bye.
Bye.